Let's see, I wonder who's left.
Alright, here we go. We got the federal. Okay, is Esau Jordan still here?
No, he had to go.
Yeah,
We
that's
appreciate
okay.
him coming.
I can see that Rocky is still here, however, so he is the next one. Rocky Rochford for District 14.
I completely forgot what I was going to talk. No, I'd like to just talk about for a second about Saturday. Saturday was a very, very dark day in our nation's history, and obviously we all pray for President Trump and his recovery and his family that had to go through that. But pray for that firefighter who was killed shielding his wife and his two daughters. Praying for the two that were also wounded, and pray for everyone who was there because of the scar that's going to be left on their lives of being in attendance of such a horrific act of cowardice. Saturday, because that happened at 4:11 p.m. I believe, because somebody went into the Bible and looked up what 4:11 was. I don't remember, but a couple of hours earlier than that, I had been interviewed by the RLC National Group, and it was a very short interview. It lasted just under 2 hours.
Yep, that's the RLC. Yep.
Yeah, to say the least. So I'm not going to go into my entire platform because it grows exponentially by every week. But I will tell you that one of the pieces of legislation, one of the very first pieces of legislation that I'm going to bring to the House floor will be a comprehensive Protect Our Children Act. This would be comprehensive. Right now there's a lot of acts out there and a lot of laws that protect our children from online and this, and we need a comprehensive package that ties it all into one bow, and that's that. And one of the aspects of that, because this was in my write-up for the national folks, and this woman who was from New Jersey, so she wasn't outspoken at all. Yeah. So she asked me, she says, I see that you wrote that you would like to see screening for children in schools to potentially identify issues and problems with them, so they can be helped and treated along the way. And she said, think of me living in Seattle, Washington. I don't want the government interviewing my child for nothing. And I went, there's probably a lot of truth to that. Yeah. But in my defense, there's no detail because we're not ready for the detail. I'm not writing a law because I'm not even in the office yet. And so I would say that the intent of this particular part of the project is not to interview every child in America. It's to bring in folks who are smart, who understand, who know how to counsel children and observe them. And it doesn't take long. I mean, Dr. O'Tell, I've talked to a whole bunch of docs about this. They tell you that it doesn't take long to identify those kids that are probably at the highest risk for trouble, right? So had we had that in place, and had we been able to maybe screen it, this kid may not have ever had the opportunity to do what he did. We could go back in time and identify all those kids that had mental issues that were straight on the wall in front of you. You couldn't miss it, but everybody did. Or everybody didn't do anything. So I want to see us do something. Be proactive versus reactive, right? So I'm hoping that my friends in the National will give me a second chance at that one. But anyway, that's all I really wanted to talk about tonight because that was so prevalent from what I saw, and I really want to, I really want to fight for our children because I believe that that's very important. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Rocky, is there a Children's Bill of Rights?
Not that I'm aware of.
And that might be an avenue to go down. You have a right not to be trafficked. You have the right not to be molested. You have the right not to be indoctrinated. You have, and you may want to go down that road as far as.
Yeah, and I'd like to see the. I've been advocating for the Riley Gaines Act, and this would actually fit into that perfectly, which is, I'm sorry, if you are a biological male born with male things, you don't compete in women's sports. I'm sorry, you don't do that, and I'm preaching to the choir here. So anyway, so yes, I agree, and that's probably not a bad way to look at it. You know, I mean, when I get to office, there's obviously a lot of things to do, but trying to find the right mechanism to move that through Congress is the right way to go, and building a coalition around it is the key to success, because my competitor, my opponent, who's just sitting in my seat, has never done anything to help protect anyone. She just votes party line with Biden and Pelosi. So, yes, ma'am.
I would like to just add that you also have the right to not be exposed to pornography in your school library.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, these are,
Our school boards are handling
most folks that I've talked with that are running for office are common sense candidates.
Yeah.
And I'm about as common sense as they get. 33 years in the military, trust me, common sense is where it sits. And that it doesn't make any sense for anyone to push anything but common sense. And those people who think that their voice should be heard, it can be heard. But the problem is it's these minority voices that get all the press. And therefore we're all faced with the oh my gods that are occurring across the country, when in reality it's just a small piece. Pasco County switched to uniforms years ago. I'll never forget this one. Parents were up in arms. No, we're not going to switch them to uniforms, blah, blah, blah. No. The media covered it, and they had all these people protesting and this, that, and the other. And on opening day of one of school, how many children didn't show up in uniform? One. So this little group got all the press, and that's just an example. So we need to, this press needs to stop doing what they're doing. Anyway, thank you very much. Any other, yes, sir?
As a parent of a son with special needs,
Yeah.
I fought and had doctors prescribe things, and there are serious problems with ADHD drugs being given to kids, long-term effects. When you go back and look at the shooters, these kids, Columbine kids were on Ritalin, infinitum, these things, and our government knows this. They're profiling these kids and know this, and they're feeding that propaganda. I really get suspect when they say these experts come in and assess these kids, because the first thing they want to do is say put on some sort of medication, and the fear of that is just awful. And we've seen the effects of it.
Yeah. So I was up in Washington 2 weeks ago at the Faith and Freedom Caucus,
Yeah.
and I met this guy who is working on this huge project for the VA, which is when these young kids come in and they've got PTSD and they need, and they're suicidal, they give them drugs without ever signing a consent, right? So when you read the side effects of the drugs, the very first thing that's listed, suicide.
Yes.
So he wants truth in advertising, and I said, he's actually from the Search of Scientology, and I love this guy, and I said, you and I are going to become good friends, because not only are we going to fight for veterans, but we're going to fight across the board where kids are just being drugged out of their mind, and the side effects are creating an entire society of, I mean, you guys see it more than I do.
You want to help veterans? We're Concerned Veterans America. Do not work with the VA. The VA is a money drug hole. It doesn't help veterans. Concerned Veterans America, small teams targeted going in there. The VA builds massive facilities that do nothing for people, and we got to stop. It's not productive for our veterans. Ridiculous.
Thank you.
Have veterans for 3 years.
All right.
Thank you.